Good morning, good morning, good morning. Merry not so stupid o'clock, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, some personal life tidbits and the usual disclaimers. All right, folks. So, on the personal front, oh my god, I am so relieved. So, with the gingerbread situation, so what happened with all of that is, you know, I'm broke. My knives come from the Dollar Tree. I have no scissors. I could not get the icing open. So, thankfully, I got a nice little exemption from having to put together the gingerbread house. I still had a little bit of fun having to deal with Brahma wanting to be Godzilla, but thankfully, I actually just get to eat the thing. So, thank you, baby Jesus, right? Alright, now, folks, you are going to see the link to this next investigative report that was done as of November the 13th, 2016, right there in the description box, alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive, huge archive on the subject. Also, the templates, folks. Sign your name, click on your senator. We've made it stupid proof, I promise. Help us end adversive punishments for being disabled. God forbid, right? Let's end improper restraint, which kills people every single year. I get all their reports. Trust me, I know. Also, the ever-present and self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Now, trigger warning, folks. When we speak about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, folks, please use your headphones, alright? Also, it may not be like massively stupid o'clock a.m. in the morning, folks, but I still just didn't. I got up not that too long ago. And I'm already stumbling over my words, so my apologies in advance, alright? Okay, so moving on to the September report, they have that usual disclaimer. This took place November the 13th, 2016. Interesting, isn't it? All of these are remarkably close together, but I'm supposed to believe that abuse at this school is rare. And Tiffany, it's part of the behavior program. How would you control them? I wouldn't try to fucking control them. Let's start with that, shall we? Let's start with the fact that there are literally thousands at this point in 2021 of different types of things and plans and programs that one has access to that they might try in order to assist, especially in regards to aggressive self-injurious behaviors, okay? Come on now. And let's not even discuss how much since 1986, for God's sake, pharmacology has come forward, all right? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this incident here. Allegation investigated. The incident occurred on November the 13th, 2016 at 5:07 a.m. It was seen on video footage. The ALAB1 was working one-on-one with the ALV. The ALAB1 put ALV to bed. The ALAB2 went to switch with the ALAB1 when it was time for him to come on shift. The ALAB2 went into ALV's room and took off his belt and sat in the chair with ALV's bedroom. What the fuck? Whoa! The hell? Creepy much? The fuck? ALV jumped out of bed. The ALAB2 told ALV to go back to bed and gestured with his belt at the ALV. Oh my god. Later, the ALV approached the ALAB2 again. The ALAB2 struck ALV once in the thigh area with the belt. The ALB continued to jump out of bed. The ALAB1 came back into the room and pushed ALV into the bed. The ALAB2 hit the ALV again on the leg with the belt. The ALAB1 left the room after this. The ALV jumped up again, and the ALAB2 told him to go back into bed. The ALAB2 attempted to hit ALV again, but he missed. Oh my God, well, just when you think that this place can't get more possibly disturbing. So he was anticipating on hitting this person. And you're wondering why they're jumping out of bed? Think we don't know our abusers? Why do I have the horrific feeling that this has happened with this particular worker with this student before? I'd be jumping out of bed, punching them in the fucking throat. Okay, let's move forward. The alleged victim, ALV, is a person with disability as defined by MGI Chapter 19C and or 118 CMR. The alleged abuser, ALAB, does meet the definition of a caretaker as defined by MGI Chapter 19C and or 118 CMR. Category of committed by the alleged abuser, act. Injuries sustained by alleged victim, physical injuries, none, second, none. Okay. Speaking as a 90s kid who got on trouble on occasion, I can freaking tell you, when you get hit with a belt, there are injuries, okay? There are injuries. Really? Wow. Emotional injuries, none. Second, none. Abuse per se, pattern of touching not appropriate or required. Description of the act and or omission of the alleged abuser that caused the injury sustained by the alleged victim. Now, folks, before we go any further, this is going to be a disclaimer. I already know that I will probably be triggered during the reading of this, okay? So, if you get triggered, especially in regards to belts, I warn you right now, immediately after this, go watch a cat video. I might have to. Okay. ALAB1 pushed ALV with force multiple times on November the 13th, 2016, and at least one other known occasion. This type of interaction was not keeping with agency training or ALV's behavior plans. I love how you keep saying that. Tell me, DPPC, with multiple incidents of abuse that have been substantiated, explain to me how it is not regular treatment of the students if you have incident after incident after incident. Just saying. In the footage of November the 13th, 2016, it is clear that ALV responds to the pushes by vocalizing and aggressing toward ALAB1. Okay. Trigger warning. Any of us who get pushed onto a bed when we need to get up for doing something like, I don't know, going pee, guess what? Us autistics and disabled, we're reactionary too, folks. And we're not monsters for fighting back. It was these vocalizations that led others to review the footage of the incidents. ALAB2 clearly strikes ALV with his belt at least 3 times on November the 13th, 2016, and ALV clearly responds with vocal displeasure to these audible smacks. Well, yeah. Although both ALVs stated that they did not intend to injure ALV, and no physical injury to ALV was found when ALV was checked that day or later that week. Oh, because I'm going to fucking trust the physicians getting paid by the JRC. Sure, Karen, sure. These pushes and belt smacks clearly cause pain to ALV. ALV cries out in response to them, and even aggresses toward ALAB1 in response. The actions of ALABs are both a pattern of touching and not required nor appropriate for care, which ALABs even admitted, and applications of physical force to cause pain. Oh, you mean like when you shock them on a regular basis, JRC? ALV is not able to speak to the pain it caused him, but a reasonable person would have experienced pain when pushed with force or hit with a belt. Also, it was ALV's out of place and foreign vocalizations that drew other staff's attention to the incident. Also, on November the 13th, 2016, as ALAB1 leaves ALV's room, he says goodnight to ALV. ALV does not answer, and ALAB1 says, "I said goodnight," and then spits on ALV as ALV is in his bed. So here we got two different people on the same evening abusing this student. You have the first one already abusing him. And then the second one comes in with his belt already off, ready to go ahead and strike. This should horrify anyone. Why the fuck his parents didn't yank him out of that school is beyond me. In addition, November the 13th incident, many others of a similar nature were later discovered. Oh my god. Facts pertinent to the allegations investigated. We will go ahead and get into this tomorrow, folks, because no, we're going to go ahead and read it. Screw it. Facts pertinent to the allegations investigated. I3 described ALV to be an individual with a blank disability who uses few words to communicate and who I3 described ALV to be blah, but has a very unpredictable, aggressive behaviors towards himself and others. Oh, is that a fact? Unpredictable, ununderstandable. Really? You shock him, you deprive him of food, you deprive him of sleep, you spit on him and beat him on with the fucking belt on top of everything else you're already doing to him, and you don't understand why he would be aggressive towards staff. Completely ununderstandable, really. IA3 described that ALV has caused blank blank from self-injury, and that he has also injured staff who has worked with him. Gee, I wonder why. You know, when neurodiverse are depressed, guess what? Meltdowns occur, especially during burnout. I can speak to this personally. We are known to punch ourselves, slap ourselves, body slam, ram our heads into walls, and basically destroy any inanimate object that happens to be at our path in the time. Okay? When you live in a place like this, remember what Jennifer Masamba said. She was not even known for self-injurious behaviors, but would engage with them just to get the shocks out of the way. Moving on. ALV is covered by a one-on-one staff from his self-injury that he is also at all time, including overnight while he is sleeping. Jesus Christ, and you wonder why he's jumping out of bed. You all have him fucking paranoid. Come on now. I3 had heard that ALV had been hit with a belt and stated that in his years at the agency, it was the first such allegation he's heard. Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. I4 was working in JRC DVR monitoring area on November 13th, 2016. This area is typically staffed by 3 individuals, each whom has set number of residences for which to monitor the live feeds or surveillance footage, and yet they never seem to catch these incidents. Don't you notice a pattern here? I saw nothing, I know nothing, yet they are all eyes on whenever there's a behavior to be consequented, right? I4 stated he was not at the station that ALV's residence on it, but that he heard a noise from the monitors of the station of the person who was covering ALV's residence. That person who had ALV's residence was on break, which is why I4 was listening out for issues. I4 said that he was worked with ALV several times in his tenure at JRC, and that he had heard ALV yell or scream in a way that was foreign to him, given his knowledge of ALV. I want to know how the hell you know what his screams sound like in the first place, you sick bastard. Because of this, he went over to review footage and discovered the initial footage of ALAB2 using a belt to hit ALV, and ALB1 forcibly pushing ALV and appearing to be present when ALB2 used the belt. I4 said ALV's reaction was out of place. Oh, for fuck's sake, how is it out of place to react when you get hit with a fucking belt? I4 stated that he had worked with ALV for many years and he was familiar with how ALV sounds. God, if that doesn't horrify you. I4 also said that ALB1 spit on ALV as he left the room at one point when he said goodnight to ALV, and ALV did not respond. Sick bastards. I2 confirmed that ALAB2 used a belt and that ALB1 pushed ALV, and provided footage initially of this November 13th, 2016 incident. I2 later reviewed all available footage of the times that ALBs worked with ALV and found additional instances of use of the belt by ALAB2 and by pushing by ALAB1. This included footage that spanned back to October the 8th, 2016. So let me get this straight. This is not a single incident. This was ongoing abuse that your so-called wonderful monitors had no idea of. But when it comes to time to shock them for having behaviors, y'all are all over it. Fucking really? Think of that horror of that poor kid. In the video footage of November 13th, 2016, ALAB1 can be seen pushing ALB when he is alone in the room with him. ALAB1 is seen moving towards ALB saying, "Sit down, boy," as he pushes him to the bed. ALAB1 then asks ALV, "You alright?" ALAB2 and ALV then switch. Just after coming into the room, ALAB2 can be seen removing his belt and wrapping it around his hand with the buckle end out. Oh my god. ALV is a very restless sleeper and can be seen to be moving the orientation of his head and feet to the opposite ends of the bed many times. He also gets up and approaches ALAB2 several times. ALAB2 most often responds with a protective sort of stance, with one arm in front of him and the other with the belt strap clearly held up behind him. ALAB2 hits him with the belt at least 3 times. After the first time, when ALV has clearly responded, "Ow," ALAB1 enters again. ALAB1 says to ALB2, "You got it?" And to ALV, "You okay?" As ALAB1 leaves the room, he says goodnight to ALV. ALV does not answer. And ALB1 says, "I said goodnight," and then spits on ALV as ALV is in the bed. There is no reaction from ALV to this. I6 stated that he watched the footage many times, with close-up views available, and that what had appeared to be spitting may be a spot in ALB1's mouth opens in a fashion consistent with spitting, as this spot travels exactly from his mouth to the bed. C1 concurred and noted in his report that ALB1's head moved back and forth, and that the spot in question appears to have weight to it and traveled in more constant downward motion rather than the lighter and more random motion of dust spots. ALAB enters again a few minutes later after ALAB2 has the belt raised to ALV and is telling him to lie down. And if you get up one more time, I'm gonna blink word unintelligible to you. Oh my god. ALAB1 then talks to ALAB2, and during this, ALV gets forcefully with 2 hands. ALV gets up and ALB1 pushes him to the bed with his arms fully outstretched towards and over ALV. ALB1 pushes ALV forcefully with 2 hands, and ALV cries out in response, with ALB1 pushing him again. ALV then hits ALB1 for the first time is movement and noise that could be consistent with either party hitting the other. During this exchange, ALAB1 approaches with the belt raised and again hits ALV with it, at a distance of about 1 foot from ALB1, and with an audible noise of contact. ALV vocalizes in response to this. ALB1 leaves again and comes minutes later. ALV gets up and ALAB2 again hits him with the belt, and ALV cries out in response. The footage details a phone ringing in their residence, and ALAB1 coming to the room and asking ALAB2 to leave, which appears consistent with I4 and I5's testimonies about the decision being made to remove ALABs from ALV's care that night. About the incidents of November the 13th, 2016, ALAB1 said that he did not intentionally hit ALV. Oh, for fuck's sake. ALB1 said that he is afraid of the dark, although the camera was recording the room was in darkness, that he did not have his contacts in, and that his glasses were broken. ALB1 said that due to these factors and his knowledge of ALV, that he responded by just putting his hands out. ALAB1 noted that his actions were very inappropriate, but he intended no harm and he did not think he injured ALV. ALB1 also said that he did not see or hear ALB2 use a belt on ALV, although he did say that he had heard unfamiliar sounds that night. In contrast to his testimony, ALB1 can be clearly seen clearly moving towards ALV. He pushes half such force that ALV responds vocally and then aggresses. ALAB2 stated that he had begun using a belt or strap when he began working with ALV because he found ALV unpredictable when waking, because ALV is sometimes aggressive without antecedent. Really? You starve him to death, a growing adolescent. You deprive him of sleep. You shock him for, breathing the wrong way. And you wonder why he wakes up aggressive. Wow. ALAB2 stated that he needed something to extend the reach of his arm just to tap ALV. Really? Really? And you really are tapping him with the metal side of your fucking belt. Really? You are aware that in majority of states, including Massachusetts, that corporal punishment is outlawed. That includes beating kids with a belt, right? ALAB2 agreed that the use of his belt or the lighter strap that he brought to the interview to show this investigator in C1 was not something that he was taught to do. ALAB2 said that his intent was to dissuade ALV from getting up or aggressing towards staff, but he admitted knowing that ALV did not like being tapped. Tapped my ass. You beat him with a fucking belt, you psychopath. ALAB2 said he has no intention of inflicting pain, and despite ALV's vocalizations, he felt he had not done this. Wow. My God, makes you wonder how he treats his kids. ALAB2 stated that he had not told anyone what he was doing, or that he felt uncomfortable working with ALV. ALB1 likewise had said that he had not told anyone he felt uncomfortable working with ALV other than briefly to blank. While all staff acknowledged ALV can be violent to himself and others, all others beside ALVs were upset by what they witnessed on the November 13th, 2016 footage. I4 clearly heard something of concern that caused him to review the footage, and I5 immediately sent ALVs home that shift, once she could replace them. I4 noted that some staff are afraid of ALV and that there have been times when staff had asked to be moved, and that this is accommodated when possible. Oh yes, we're gonna fear the fucking victim. Really. Really. I4 noted that blah 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 blah. I5 stated that she had worked alongside ALB2 many times in the past and was surprised by seeing this. I5 said that when she spoke to ALB2, she'd seen the footage of him removing it. ALB2 sent an apology letter to blank JRC blank blank blank. In this letter, ALB2 stated He removed his belt in response to ALV tensing up and walking towards him. Oh, God forbid we tense up. You ever think that, shocking someone with electricity might cause restless sleeping? It is electricity you're pumping these kids with every single day. God. However, footage shows ALB removed his belt immediately after shutting the door to the room. Both ALBs were removed from the schedule immediately and later terminated. ALV was seen by nursing staff just after the incident and the following day, with no body marks, redness, bruising, or swelling noted. Oh, bullshit. You ever been hit with a belt? I have. Guess what it leaves behind? Yeah. So you're going to tell me that he aggressed toward him with the metal side of the belt and that there was no bruising or no nothing? Right. I too stated that he reviewed all available footage of ALBs working with ALV, which he stated spanned back to October the 8th, 2016. I too shared this with C1 and this investigator. There were 10 additional incidents on 5 additional dates involving LAB2, either shoving, punching, or striking or threatening with the belt. This was one additional incident with LAB1 using a two-handed shove to ALV. So these people have a pattern. They have a history. And you still want to engage in victim blame? You sick fucks. Okay, folks, we're going to move to the second half tomorrow. But, folks, this is one of the most disturbing incidents that we're coming across here. Allergies, hold on. So what do we know? What can we confirm? The abuse had started before the belt even came out. You had one staff member aggressively forcing the victim on a bed over and over again. We have the fact that ALV is known to spontaneously jump up out of bed, quote-unquote aggressing towards staff. Here's my thing. If this abuse had been going on for a while, as had been established by both these staff members, why the fuck wouldn't he? Why the fuck wouldn't he? We have another established fact that in spite of what the second staff says, he came in there expecting to use the belt on this kid. Period. And that he had done it to others. And targeting this disabled person in particular, well, that's just obvious. So, what are we concluding from this, boys and girls? That when these kids get aggressive, when they fight back against the fucking treatment they get in this hellhole, then you have to deal with psychopaths like these two staff members. And who wants to bet on top of that, all day during school, he gets shocked, restrained on the 4-point board, and shocked repeatedly, and deprived of food and sleep on top of it. Because I'll put money on it. And on those horrific dark thoughts, we're going to go ahead and close out this morning with one final thought. With this incident in particular, how it did end up with closing this goddamn godforsaken school down, I have no idea. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.